The Trump hush money trial came to a close today with a resounding thud on behalf of the court system and the porcine prosecutor, Alvin Bragg. It reminded me of an episode of Seinfeld in which they pitched a show to NBC executives. How's that? Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Dr. Ken Henry, and this is Conservative Commentary, where we spread the MAGA message. I'd like to ask you for a favor, if you wouldn't mind. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. This really helps us grow the channel and get the message out. And go over to youtube.com/@themagamessage and check out our other videos. Well, Judge Juan Merchan ended any possible doubt that this, quote, hush money prosecution was a political witch hunt today when he sentenced President Trump to an unconditional release. What does that mean? It means nothing. They went through the whole charade for nothing, much like this.
I think I can sum up the show for you with one word. Nothing. Nothing? Nothing. What does that mean? The show is about nothing.
It was a trial about nothing. Now, if you think back and recall that this was all made up, these were potential misdemeanors that Alvin Bragg and his minions cobbled together some sort of nonsensical claim that Trump was trying to influence the election. It wasn't a hush money trial at all. The underlying claim, which revived these misdemeanors whose statute of limitation had run, was that a federal election statute. Now, remind you, Joe Biden's Department of Justice had looked at all these issues and took a pass. And then Bragg comes into office and they cobbled this all together. And then Joe Biden's Department of Justice number 3 prosecutor shows up at Bragg's office, takes a job there, and leads the charge against Trump. During the course of this trial, if you'll recall, the judge made so many nonsensical rulings totally against the law and President Trump's constitutional rights. He even went so far as to say you don't have to have a unanimous verdict on any of the 34 counts. If you can add 12 here or 2 here and 10 there or whatever to get to 12, then you've got a verdict. He wouldn't even let President Trump present an expert witness who would have carved his case to smithereens. So he placed President Trump under a gag order as well during the trial, and his attorneys. And you know why? The simple matter was it was a witch hunt, a political witch hunt, and they were trying to hamstring President Trump, and they thought that by hanging the tag a convicted felon on him, that it would cause him to lose the election. Talk about not being able to read the room. Every time they did something like this, and this in particular, it made Trump stronger, and he gained momentum in the election. So why did Merchan rush his sentencing? Well, he knew that in 4 years that the thing's going to be so stale that he wouldn't be able to do anything in terms of sentencing Trump anyway. But he had said he was going to wait until Trump was out of office. And then he comes up with this unconditional release, and he decides he's going to go ahead 10 days before the inauguration and sentence Trump, so that Trump would be a convicted felon, and he could walk around and beat his chest, he and Alvin and we made Trump into a felon. You know, the cocktail parties, can you imagine the conversations? Now remember, Juan Merchan contributed to Joe Biden's presidential campaign in 2020, and that's totally against the judicial ethics rules for the state of New York. His daughter works for a firm that's a big Democratic fundraiser and certainly would benefit from her father's mistreatment of President Trump. But I heard Jonathan Turley today describe the mistakes made, the appealable error, the reversible errors made by Merchan as a peddler's wagon. It's full of everything. And in my opinion, they used a federal law over which they didn't have jurisdiction to cobble this whole thing together. It's just a total mess. Now, the Supreme Court decided that it would be best to let the appellate process in the state courts run before taking up the matter. I think that was wrong, but it's certainly a one track. They do tend to like normalcy in procedure, but this certainly has been anything but normal along the way. So President Trump is now considered to be a felon. Now you say, well, nothing happened, but you know, potentially it did. He can't hold a firearm now, I don't think. And thankfully, under Florida law, he does not lose his voting rights, which could have happened. If he lived in my state in Kentucky, as a convicted felon, he would lose his right to vote. Now, think about the nonsense of a man who has the nuclear codes at his fingertips. He can't own a gun. It's just lunacy. And it has been from day one. But that's behind us now. The appellate process will go, and it'll end up at the U.S. Supreme Court at some point, and the Supreme Court will overturn this nonsense. Take a look at this clip, if you don't mind, and share your thoughts with us in the comments.
We're going to pause for a moment on our coverage of the California wildfires to bring you this breaking news. President-elect Donald Trump has been sentenced to an unconditional discharge in relation to his hush money case. Here's the latest of what we know breaking right now. President-elect Donald Trump formally sentenced today, moments ago, in that case, but the judge declined to impose any punishment. The outcome cements Trump's conviction while freeing him to return to the White House unencumbered by the threat of a jail term or a fine. And again, Trump was charged with 34 felonies. He was put on trial for almost 2 months and convicted on every count. Yet the legal detour didn't hurt him, with voters who elected him to a second term. So moments ago, Manhattan Judge Juan Merchan, he could have sentenced Trump to 4 years in prison, but instead he chose a sentence that sidestepped constitutional issues by effectively ending the case, but assuring that Trump will become the first person convicted of a felony to assume the presidency. Trump has said his criminal trial and conviction has, quote, been a very terrible experience, and insisted he committed no crime as he appeared virtually moments ago to be sentenced. Again, if you are just joining us here on Live Now from Fox for this breaking news update, we do know that Manhattan Judge Juan Merchan, he has sentenced President-elect Donald Trump to unconditional discharge, and Fox News is reporting what that means. That means no prison, no probation, no conditions for President-elect Donald Trump. He is now set to return to the White House unencumbered by the threat of a jail term or a fine. So again, if you are just joining us here on Live Now from Fox, that is the latest of what we know with all of this breaking as of right now. And again, we have not heard from President-elect Donald Trump after this just came out here. But again, what we did know after he appeared virtually moments ago in court, he said that it has, quote, been a very terrible experience, and once again insisting he committed no crime.